Welcome to Revenue Mind, where revenue leaders get real about mental health. I'm Jolie. Stick around for honest stories, practical insights, and why well-being is the real bottom line. Let's dive in. Hey everyone, welcome to the Revenue Mind podcast. I'm Jolie, your host, and with us is Warren. Welcome, Warren.
Hi.
How's it going?
Good. Really good. Appreciate it. Thanks for inviting me to be here.
Yeah, I really appreciate you taking the time. So typically we've been doing the standard format where we ask certain questions, but we've changed it to be more of a riff. So the question is, what
Yep.
makes you you?
My parents.
Full stop?
Yeah, I mean, they made me. They made me me.
That do you wanna dude, that I mean, that makes a lot of sense. Do you wanna expand on any personality traits or any sorta
I mean, I guess it's probably mostly genetic.
that works for me?
Yeah, I mean, there's some nurture, I'm sure, but I tend to think that if you're in an extreme environment, like if you're abused, or traumatic upbringing, or maybe you were moved around a lot, or you lived in some really weird culture, then nurture probably plays a bigger role. But if it's just like a neutral environment, which I grew up in, it's mostly genetic. I mean, a lot of this stuff too is cultural. I'm Jewish. I'm from New York. That plays a role, but that's parents, right? There's economic factors, and then there's mostly genetics. I mean, I don't know why the hell it is I'm good at stuff. I was just born this way, so I didn't have any control over any of it, honestly.
That's a really refreshing, honest answer. I'm actually Jewish, and my grandmother and grandfather both born in Brooklyn.
There you go. Yeah, my parents are all from Brooklyn. And my
Oh, nice.
grandparents, everyone, the whole family. Yeah.
Yes, I know a little bit about neuroticism.
Yeah. Don't we all?
Oh, yeah, it's culture agnostic. It's definitely not a Jewish thing. But, okay, so that was a really refreshing, straightforward, direct answer, loved it. We
Mhm.
can talk about other stuff.
Okay.
So, I'd love to hear your opinion on sales and burnout, specifically in the CRO community.
Yeah, that's a good question. So, CROs in particular, I tend to think like you have certain types of people that take certain jobs. There's people who are sort of made for it. They're just the type of people that they're designed for it. And then there's some people that they find that particular role attractive and they go for it, but then they get there and they realize that they're not up for it. It's sort of we tend to look at the superficiality of it and go, "Oh, I want that job," and then when you get there, like, "Why the hell did I want this job?" And I think that's burnout is more, I think, an issue with people whom are not up for it. I mean, there are certain things that you shouldn't do. You're not made for it, And, the only way you'll find out is by doing it, and then you realize, "Okay, this isn't for me." But, when I hear about burnout, I think it's not just the job. It's a combination of other things. 'Cause, you can have boundaries. You can say no to stuff. You can manage your life differently. And, if you take on a job that requires a lot of you and it has a negative impact on you, then, I don't think there's any victims. Always be, "Oh, my job, my job." It's like, no, it's you. It's not the job, it's you. Yeah, the job's demanding, sure. But, okay, I mean, you chose it. You said yes to the job. So if it's not working for you, either A, change the way you work or get a different one. I just don't, people who complain about their environment to me, it's like, well, do something about it. So, I think people burn out for different reasons. I think the reason why people burn out is they have a maybe misguided understanding of what work is. I think people that burn out at work, the work is probably not meaningful. It's probably not fulfilling. It's just work. And then I think also people don't take care of themselves because they don't care about themselves. So they don't. I think people that get burnt out would probably get burnt out at anything, you know? So, I don't know. I mean, I think that there are some jobs that come with stress. I went through this. I mean, I had a lot of really, I wouldn't say like really big jobs, but I was like, I was a corporate executive and it was horrible. was horrible. I didn't want to do it anymore. I just wasn't made for it. And, I guess the part of it too is also, does me admitting that I'm not made for something mean I'm not good enough for it? That maybe I thought that was true for a while, but it's not. It's not for me. That's all. So what? Fine. I'm glad I know that now. But yeah, I can understand why that would be a difficult thing for someone to admit because maybe they've constructed their identity around their job in a way that's not healthy. I do this for a living. I have this title. I make this much money and all that stuff. And we have a lot of that way that we measure up people and the way we perceive each other, I think could be not healthy. So I find that people that don't get burnt out, either A, they may work harder than people that do get burnt out, but they really like what they do, and so they don't care. And then there's people whom they're working really hard at something they hate, and they're doing it for understandable reasons. Maybe they built their lives based on this role they have, and now they're stuck in this identity they have, and they have to figure out a way to recalibrate it. I mean, if you're a guy and you meet a woman who married you because of all those things you bring to the table, and then you find out later that you don't want them anymore, it could be like, is she going to care about me anymore? Is she going to want to be with me anymore? I don't want to lose my family. I don't want to lose my wife. So I'm going to keep doing this thing. And I think we create a lot of these traps, for ourselves. So I think that's a big part of it. But in terms of like work burnout, like too much work, uh, probably just be more efficient, you know, delegate more, I think these are things that are easier to fix than other things I'm talking about. Sorry for
Yeah.
the long answer, but that's my answer. Yeah.
No, it was great. What did you learn as a CRO before founding this CRO Collective in
Yeah,
terms
it's
of
interesting. What I learned was I didn't like it. It's funny.
okay.
You talk to someone who is an interesting question, right? So, if you're going to go to somebody for advice, do you go to someone who's successful at the thing they're doing or the person that failed at it? And I think that the person who failed learned a lot more. Success is a shitty teacher. It isn't a good teacher. And so, if someone is, divorced and then remarried, that person's probably really a good person to talk to, right? Than someone who's just happily married, because a lot of marriages are luck, to be frank. So, I think that there's wisdom in that. And so for me, getting the job was like, I learned a lot about the role and its complexities. And I admittedly took the job probably before I was ready for it. So that was a big part of it too. And I just had to kind of come to terms with that about myself. But more importantly was, I really know how to teach and train and coach and develop better than I know how to, do. It's like coaches and players, so you look at like a Bill Belichick, who's an amazing coach and he wasn't a great player, but best coaches usually aren't really the best players. And the best players don't usually make the best coaches. It's a different skill. And so, I think for me personally, it was like I learned that it was just a really complicated job that I could explain to somebody and I could train somebody to do, but it doesn't mean that I should be brought on because I was the best at it. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't want to say this. It doesn't mean that then I wouldn't go to the person who's best at something to learn from them. But the key is like, because someone's really, really good at something, if they don't know how to talk about it with you, then you're not going to get the value from it. You can just observe them as an example, but the transfer of knowledge is a skill. It's a different thing. And so I think that was what I saw, is that I found more clarity around where my competencies are. And that's what the change was. But that's how I landed here.
Yeah, and you built something really incredible. What are the most common pain points you see in the people that you coach?
It's mostly internal. A lot of stuff I hear is related to uh,
Imposter syndrome.
100%. It's huge. You're at this job, you have this title, you're doing all this stuff. And I'm not saying everybody, I'm saying a lot of people are like, why am I here? They're going to find out about me. They're going to see that I don't belong here. I'm going to get caught. It's very common. And so that's a big one. And just the way that affects people is, if I'm in a position of authority and I don't feel I belong there, then I may, without realizing it, make little nuanced like compensations to make up the difference from my own lack of confidence. And I'm making my situation worse. The really confident people, they'll delegate everything and they'll hire people a lot smarter than them. all the time. They'll bring on superstars that are 1,000 times smarter than them. They're like, why wouldn't I bring on the smartest people? They're smarter than me. I want to bring them on the team. Someone whom is afraid of themselves will never do that. They'll always bring on people that they feel smarter than. And that you could see this. So when I look at a company and I see the company's like populated by a lot of really, really smart people, I think that leader is probably really smart, has good emotional intelligence, because they're like, screw it, I have to hire good people. And so that's one thing. And the other thing too is someone who feels they have to do things all the time themselves. Like they're always in the weeds because they better do it, because if they don't do it, then it looks like they don't know what they're doing. So I'm going to do it to make people think like I'm good at what I'm doing. And, if you're leading, you should be doing little. You should be leading and doing less. And I think that that's another important part of it too. I see how people sabotage themselves. And the other one too is self-advocating, like being able to ask for what they want, like I need this, I need that, I want this, I want that. Not like a spoiled child, but just with a good rationale. Here's what I need, here's why I need it. Please give it to me. As opposed to taking what they're given and working with less and not advocating for themselves and expecting everybody to read their minds. That's another part that I see too. But the transitional between becoming a more complex leader into that, stepping into that role is very interesting transition for a lot of people who are fighting with their own demons around themselves. And it's good. It's a really cool exercise. I mean, everyone should do it. Everyone should take on something that they maybe don't think they can do. I think it's a really cool thing to do. I know.
For sure, actually, a few years ago, I taught myself paid search and paid social in about 72 hours because I had to.
Yeah. I mean, you got to do what you got to do, right? I mean, you adapt. But, this is the stuff I encounter with the people I'm working with a lot is how they're not. Oh, another thing too is not knowing how to have conversations effectively, you know, communication skills. And it's not just like articulating things, it's also just communicating like, how do I bring this X or Y or Z to somebody in a way that's going to be persuasive or not seem X, Y? It just packaging information in a way that moves the needle and managing the personal stuff that comes up when I have to go ask somebody for something, or I have to go complain about something to somebody, or I have to change something, or I have to let them down, or I have to disappoint them, or I have to, like these are not easy things that you have to develop a lot of acuity around.
Yeah, for sure. How do you think burnout trickles down from the CRO level?
Well, I mean, look, if you're running a team, the team looks like you. I mean, if I, I look at anything on a team, if there's someone on a team that's not performing, then certainly, no question, there's a local issue with that person, which is that person might need to be trained or developed or maybe given better direction. Fine. But more importantly is why the leader didn't do that. The leader either didn't equip that person properly or hired that person improperly or is ignoring that person in some way. So it's all really at the effect of the leader. And if you are a leader, and a CRO is one, you have to be willing to say everything that happens on my team is my responsibility. Everything. And that's the sign of a leader. And if you're a chief revenue officer, which is a very complex job, you do have to have that attitude. And if you have that attitude, one, you're always going to be sort of learning and evaluating and looking at things and doing things better. And also you're going to take responsibility for things. So you'll probably end up being a better leader. But if you're not, you're going to the team is going to look that way. Everyone's going to be blaming each other for things. No one's going to take responsibility for anything. It becomes a whole like weird political environment. And you could tell, you know, any company I worked at, and now at this vantage point too, when I was younger, I couldn't see this as clearly as now is, companies that are very political and backstabby and, that they're run by really immature people, don't have really good leadership skills because they're letting that happen. That's probably how they operate. So people operate that way. People take the latitude they're given unfortunately in companies, so that's the way it works.
That makes a lot of sense. What kind of companies and people succeed?
Well, first you have to be really competent. Competency plays a huge role. So it's not just necessarily how your nature is, but you just have to be good at what you do. I think we overlook that. It's not just an emotional thing. It's you got to be damn good at things. If you're going to do something, you have to be good at it and really good at it. And you have to have developed that skill over time and learn and perfect and make mistakes and fix and do things. So that's one thing. Be good at what you do, and which means that you have to do things that you're good at and make them better. So that's one thing, and I don't want to underemphasize the importance of being good at stuff. And then the second part is, like I said earlier, humility, willingness to take responsibility for things, caring about the people that work for you, caring about the people that you serve, caring about the values that you have of you and the organization that you work for, and communicating those values and living those values. I think those are important. Hard work, discipline. Discipline's a really important one. People who are really disciplined tend to be successful. People who are willing to take actions, implement actions, get people to act and take actions. In a lot of the work that we do, everything is all really doing stuff. And you got to know how to do things and also how to get other people, motivate people to do things and do things in a certain way. And people that know how to do that are very successful. And, another thing, really good communication skills. I can't emphasize this enough. If you're a chief revenue officer, you've got to be a world-class communicator because you're talking to so many different kinds of people. And you have to get a lot of things done through communication. You're making requests, you're giving reports, you're providing updates, you're giving forecasts, you're explaining your motivations, you're making investments, you're trying to build new opportunities, you're trying to innovate, you're going to be implementing changes. That means you have to listen really well. You have to understand what people are saying. You have to have empathy for what they're saying. You have to understand how communication works. It's an incredibly important skill. And you have to know how to articulate yourself to people so people understand you and they they know what you're asking for and they know why. And it motivates them to want to do things. Those are really important skills.
Oh, for sure. I think communication is the backbone of it's probably backbone of most things,
I do think so.
potentially down to humanity. Follow-up question from that. Do you think, and pivoting a little bit, do you think AI has allowed people to fake competence?
No, no, I don't. I mean, I'm not seeing it like that. I look at it like, so like, let's say we all do this now, I think. Let's say, for example, I have to research something, so I asked one of the, large language models to do it for me. And I say, do some research on, Jolie Shapiro for me and give me some background and, give me some insights on some things I should talk to Jolie about and why. And it does a really good job of it. How is it any different from me doing a Google search, which we've been doing for 25 years? So to me, it's like, I think that there's this sort of specter like, oh, we if we wanna do that, you can go back and say that Google made us all stupid, right? And then, you can go way back further and say, well, books made us stupid, right? So now someone could make the argument, say, oh, it's not the same because, they're not as immediate. You can actually have ChatGPT or whatever it might be imitate you or speak on your behalf. And that's true. But, I think ultimately you're still gonna have to pay the piper. You're still actually gonna have to get in there and have a conversation with somebody, and I don't think that we're at the point yet where it's gonna completely replace us, and I think I look at it more like the bionics. I think it just makes my arm stronger or my leg stronger or me run faster, but I still gotta do the running, and I still gotta do the lifting, and I still gotta do the throwing, and I have to know when to throw and when not to throw, and who to throw to, and, well, the who throw to part, maybe it can help me with. Which is good, you know? So I don't know if it's going to fake intelligence. I do know that people are definitely writing a lot more, using it, and I don't care about that so much. There's certain things I'm rethinking. I think that, like would I go see a concert of an AI band? I don't think I would. Art is different. I think we want to see a human do something. That's what part of it is because a human's doing it is what makes it magical, right? But writing a book about business or writing a paper, I mean, if it's a good paper and I learned something from it, okay. I mean, I don't know. I'm sort of on the fence about this one. I think if somebody went to the table and said, "I'm a great writer," and then they were using ChatGPT, that's different. But if it's I'm communicating good ideas, I think as long as the communication of the idea is done, that's okay. So I don't know. It's an interesting one. I don't know. But I built an app that speaks like me and answers questions like me, but I don't think anybody thinks it's me. I mean, they know it's a bot. It's fine. I don't care. But it's still my knowledge. I imbued it with my knowledge, so it's mimicking me. If anything, I made that thing smarter because it wouldn't have known that without me. So I don't know. I'm not sure. I think that's the case. Could it be in the future? Yeah, probably. And we'll see what happens. It'll be fascinating. Maybe we'll all just be smarter. I don't know.
I hope that's the case. So I'm a songwriter, and I discovered this AI tool that you give it directions, but I also put it on my lyrics and the musical direction and all that, and it actually creates songs. And it gave me the ability to, because I can't play instruments for the life of me, but it gave me the ability to put music out there that I never would have been able to, or would have taken me 3 months to produce thousands of dollars later. It enhances my
Yeah, look, I don't
ability.
know. I mean, there's some amazing AI music right now, like crazy. Like, like I've been hearing these examples of songs that someone creates. Like they take someone else's song and they say, make this. It's really good. So, I mean, if someone played an AI song for me, some of the ones I'm referring to, I wouldn't know that it was AI. I would think it was a band, and I think it was good. So, yes, it does change things. If I'm told it's not a person, I might feel a bit swindled or hog swindled or whatever it is, but it was still good, you know? So I think it's going to be really interesting. I think we're going to be able to make movies with this stuff. We're entering a new world. I mean, remember, I don't know how old you are, but you're certainly not 10. So, I think it's like you and I come from a place where we're used to everything being done a certain way, but like a 10-year-old or a 6-year-old is not going to have the same reference of material that we do, and they're going to see this stuff as being the normal, and it'll be fine. So, we're all looking at things from our own perspective. People said the same thing about the internet. There's a lot of people. You could read articles right now. It's crazy. So many articles are written in like the early 90s, mid 90s saying this is a fad. This is a joke. This is never going to result in anything. I don't know all the hype around this. So, you know what? I don't know if we know anything, honestly.
It just goes to show that I don't think we know where it's gonna go yet.
We don't know anything.
I like that. I'd rather be wrong to be right. Kinda my mantra for life.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't think we know much of anything. So,
That works too. What
yeah.
do you think about the AI agent movement in sales?
I mean, I don't know if we're at the stage yet where you can actually have like a robot selling. I think some things. I mean, if I'm doing a transactional sale, it kind of already is a robot, right? Think about it. If I did today, I was on Instagram and there was a really cool product and I clicked on it and I bought it and speak to anybody. So a robot sold that to me, basically. What's the difference? I think what we're talking about though is a robot going to call me on the phone and sell me something and object? I don't. Maybe, but I don't know about right now. I don't think it's capable right now. It depends what you're selling. If you're selling a product like a new widget, then maybe. But if you're selling me an idea or a service, I don't know. It could be. It's I don't know. Are we going to be like hiring? Are we going to be deploying robots in place of salespeople? Maybe in some cases. Again, given the right product and the right transaction and the right commercial model, it could work. So I'm not against it because, again, like I said, the hell do I know? I mean, it's likely that I'm biased. Like if I were to make an objection to it, it would probably be because I'm threatened in some way by it, as opposed to whether I think it's a good idea or not. So it's not. I don't know if I trust my own opinion about this stuff. It probably is going to happen anyway. So I don't know. But right now, today, you still need salespeople for certain things. You're always going to need them, at least as far as I can tell. But that doesn't mean that 10 years from now, or even 5, that we're going to get sophisticated enough that I could just like have somebody answer a call for me and it handles the whole thing. I could totally see it happening. I could totally see it happening. And you know what? Honestly, if that's the case, I think what'll happen too is if I have the ability, and I don't know if the time range right. Let's just say it's 5 years, but I could get somebody to answer the phone for me and sell. How the hell do I know that it wasn't a robot that called my robot and bought from me? Like I can deploy someone to buy something for me too. Would you buy this for me? Call that robot and buy it for me. Like I think that would actually be better. I'd rather have somebody buy shit for me, than me having to go buy everything. I need 5 things. I need a new shirt. I need this new thing. And you enter it into ChatGPT or whatever it might be and say, purchase these for me. And it goes off and it buys them and then gives me an update that it did. So if I'm gonna buy things with AI, why shouldn't I sell them with AI? I think it's probably just ultimately what makes sense. There'll be a weird bot economy going on at some point.
I like that, bots buying from bots. I kinda like that, kinda feels like the Terminator, but
But okay. But I mean, like, think about it. I mean, how many things do you need? Like, you need deodorant, you need new floor cleaner, you need toothpaste, like they just, those type of things. And you just go in and you just say, buy these things for me and get them at the best price and have it delivered to my house. Here's my Amazon account or whatever. I don't care. It'll search, it'll come back to you with the page that says, Warren, thanks. We found the items for you. Here's a list. Here's the price. Let me know if you want me to deploy. Yes. Boom. Done. Like, that'd be great. So to me, okay, fine. One less crappy thing I got to do?
Yeah, I get that. I think there's actually OpenAI has Operator, which
Yeah, it
is
does. I don't know how
getting
well it
to that
works yet,
point.
but that might do it. In fact, now that I talked about this with you, I'm going to go to Atlas, which is the browser, and I'm going to see if it can do it for me. I think it's pretty cool. There's a lot of little things I have to buy. Maybe I'll see if it'll work. So I think it could be really neat.
AI is definitely an interesting topic.
Uh-huh.
How do you keep yourself grounded when things get tough?
Other people, I mean, isolation is a bad thing. I think if we live in our own heads, if I live in my own head, it's bad news. So I need to get out of my head, talk to other people whom I deployed in my life, whom have a relationship with me, or I can say, hey, I'm thinking this stupid shit. And they'll say, oh, okay. And then we can talk it out and it gets worked out, and probably also having a good environment. Honestly, I think it's the relationships you have are probably gonna be the key thing to get you through things. No isolation. I think you need to be around people that you can just talk things through with. That's the best thing. And then exercise, eating well, sleeping well. Those things are good. Get a good night's sleep, eat good food, things that we know that all make sense that we probably don't do, but we should. So I think those are important things, like just general self-care.
I know exactly what to do. Will I do it on a day where I get no sleep? Debatable. Will I do it when I get 8 hours of sleep and feel like I can conquer the world? 99.9%. I'll get it done. Think it all
Mhm.
depends on our state of mind, too.
I agree. I think it has also to do with just how we feel about ourselves. Also, I think it's also being responsible for other people. I do believe that if you have a family and you have kids, then it changes your perspective because now it's not about you anymore. Well, it shouldn't be. I mean, I see a lot of people that have kids and it's still about them. But I think that it'll increase the degree to which you're likely going to be thinking about other things than yourself if you have other people that you're responsible for. So I think it's a good thing to do.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Random, but relevant. Did you start this CRO Collective because you value connection?
No, no, I did because I felt like it was a cool problem that I figured out a way to solve, and I thought it'd be a cool thing to do. I mean, I'm not feeding the homeless or anything, or saving people in the Sudan or anything. I mean, I'm solving a business problem, but it was one that I saw that wasn't being solved, and that it needed to be solved, and that it could have a big impact. And I thought it'd be kind of cool to do. And it was a smart kind of business model that I built in my brain, and I thought I'm going to do this. And then it was probably more, can I do this? Am I capable of doing this? Am I capable of building something and then making it work or not? So it's kind of like a bit about that too.
I feel like you have a lot of knowledge, and I feel like I'm only hitting the tip of the iceberg. I think we got some good stuff out of this. Okay. So where can we find you?
The CROcollective.com, and also on LinkedIn, which I'm, constantly there all the time. So those are the two places to find me.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Warren. Really, really appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me today.
That's a wrap for Revenue Mind, where we cut the BS and spotlight mental health and revenue leadership. I'm Jolie. We're reminding you your mindset is your competitive edge. Thanks for listening. See you next time.